Hello and welcome to the 302nd edition of the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. In Nashville, Tennessee, I'm Matt Perkins. And a swing pass across the Harpeth River here from me in the Music City, it's our own offensive coordinator, the coach, Corey Burton.
Well. In honor of the rise of the fullback, this is you do two podcasts with fullbacks. So
I do.
You have a thing for fullbacks, don't you? But
I have a thing for the wing tee, and the wing tee heavily involves a fullback. So yeah,
there you go. So I caught plenty of swing passes, but I'm ready to get this thing rolling, man. Let's get it.
All right. Well, we can't get started without the third amigo in the second city, a man whose favorite artistic medium is the pumpkin. It's our intrepid blogger from Big Ten and Counting, Josh Cook.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Yes, happy belated Halloween. For those of you who don't know, Josh is far and away the most skilled pumpkin carver I have ever met. Every year he does something different and somewhat awe-inspiring. So, Josh, what'd you go with this year?
So this year it was kind of a mixed media thing. It required a handwritten sign and then the pumpkin. So the pumpkin was rather simple. It was an outline of my hand, and then I chopped off one of the fingers and had blood spewing. And then my sign that I hand wrote said payment for candy in red ink, and I kind of had like some blood droppings, and then I took some red food coloring and like a cookie baster thing, and just not a cookie baster, but the cooking like paint style brush thingy, and put some on there, and then kind of splattered the paper so it looked like all this blood spray.
Here's Josh waving at everybody.
It was there was this little girl who, I don't know, maybe 6 years old, 7 years old, was like, "That's my favorite pumpkin," as she went by our house. I was like, "Ah, nicely done, you sicko."
Well, I mean, she clearly takes after you.
She's probably going to carve the same pumpkin next year, Josh.
All right.
Well, I like pumpkins in Iowa football.
That is truly terrifying. So, okay. Well, before we get into some terrifying and some awesome things that we saw on the football field this past weekend, want to remind you guys that we are brought to you by our presenting sponsor, betonline.ag. They continue to be your number one source for all things gambling and sports betting. Basketball is back. College football, NFL in full swing. NHL is back. Josh loves the hockey. Got some esports, got some golf. You name the sport, they've got it over at betonline.ag. Head on over to the website to join, or use your mobile device and use our promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay, guys, we're gonna have a bit of a shorter one tonight than usual. A couple of us are a little bit under the weather, but I want to start by talking about the rankings that came out about 3 hours ago now, or 2 hours ago now, as we record. The college football rankings are always a fun source of drama and debate and asinine thoughts. So, Josh, where did the committee screw it up the most in their initial rankings? For full transparency, we got Tennessee 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4, Michigan 5, Alabama 6, TCU 7, and then that's off the top of my head. I don't remember who they had 8 through 12.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I mean, look, the crux of the matter is these rankings are utterly pointless. It's just for TV. We know. Okay. So also, if you're a recent listener, none of us like the playoffs, including Coach, who's won a national title from this system. We all want a much larger playoff. We love the FCS playoffs. These are just an exercise in stupidity, because they're essentially going to all sort itself out, because the Tennessee-Georgia loser ain't winning their division. And I don't think the SEC warrants two teams from the same division. You could make the argument that the loser of the SEC title game, especially if it's an undefeated Tennessee or Georgia could join the presumptive Alabama in the playoffs. But so Tennessee, Georgia will have a knockout game. Same with Ohio State and Michigan. So again, this is just an exercise in stupidity. If you want to quibble with it and be like, oh, well, which team got screwed over? It's a no-brainer. The team that got screwed over is TCU because they are 8-0, and in their schedule, they've played 18th ranked Oklahoma, 19th ranked Kansas, 8th ranked Oklahoma State, and 17th ranked Kansas State. And I know those teams, some of them aren't in the polls anymore, but Alabama has only played 3 ranked teams. Or excuse me, 3 ranked teams, and 2 of them ain't in the polls anymore. So right away, why is Alabama ahead of them? And then Clemson's played 2 ranked teams, one of which probably should not be ranked, which is NC State. So what's going on with TCU? If they care about who you played, if they care about getting the 4 best teams, well, you done screwed up because TCU's resume at this point is above several teams that they are, quote unquote, behind in the polls.
I wholeheartedly believe it. I looked at that going, where's TCU? I don't see it. Michigan deserves to be there in the initial rankings. They're playing really well. Ohio State, I think Matt, you asked the question in the rundown, whose win was more impressive. I'll go ahead and answer that one. Ohio State's win over Penn State was more impressive. It was on the road.
We're talking about in relation, by the way, to Tennessee versus Kentucky.
Yeah,
Ohio State's win this past weekend was more impressive than Tennessee at home versus Kentucky. And I'm inclined to agree with you there, Coach. But I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they think that this is some giant victory. This Kentucky squad's banged up, is not as great as they were even a month ago.
They were shook, man. Like I've never seen a team just look so shell shocked.
Penn State came out throwing haymakers.
And Penn State looked good early on, and then Ohio State just pulled away and did what Ohio State should do as a number 2 ranked team. Georgia did the same thing against Florida, who is really banged up and not very good.
Yeah, we watched that game together, Coach. Way more fun just hanging out with you than the game itself, because the game itself was sloppy. It was sloppy. Unlike that buffalo chicken dip, which was on point.
Oh, yeah, no, we were sloppy eating it because we were
very
so
sloppy. Not as on point though, Josh. We had some porterhouse steaks that were absolutely to die for.
Apparently, Matt and I should open a restaurant because he sears them, I smoke them, and we devour.
Listen, I'm going to shout out my current favorite Instagram handle. It's at Porterhouse Party. They just bring porterhouse steaks to your house and cook them for you when you have a party. That's the whole business, and I love it.
But I mean, coming back to
Kentucky, man, why didn't we think of that?
Coming back to Kentucky, like they've felt like NC State. So in my poll, I haven't had NC State doing very well in my poll. I actually had them knocked out because with Levis being for Leary being hurt, for NC State, they're not the same team. Kentucky's going through the same thing with Will Levis. Their loss to Tennessee is now their 3rd in 4 games. They're just not the same team that they were earlier in the year. It's just the usual poll stagnation. A narrow loss in the SEC bumps you up. A 3-point loss to Ole Miss on the road. Oh, that guarantees that Kentucky is God's gift to football. It's just, you got to be realistic. And Kentucky's not a top 25 team as currently constituted. So that's why the win that Ohio State had at Penn State. I know Penn State stinks against top 10 teams under Franklin. He can't win any of them, but they're probably going to be 10-2, 9-3, somewhere around there. And they're going to go to a nice bowl game. They're, the team that goes to the Citrus Bowl, Capital One Bowl is a top 25 team. So that's why the Ohio State win was way more impressive.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I just, living in the state of Tennessee, I've been hearing it all. Oh man, I went to school and they told me that might as well just cancel the game. Tennessee's going to roll. win by 50, and they forget that it's not easy to win on the road in the SEC.
And it's especially not easy to win on the road at Sanford Stadium.
And, Tennessee is a nice, a really nice thing going. They get their offense is just a joy to watch.
It's so much fun. I like watching their offense.
Yeah, they very well could beat Georgia. They very well could win the SEC. They very well could go college football playoffs. Using Kentucky as some sort of measuring stick to prove that is just foolish.
Yeah, I mean, the Alabama one, I guess, is the biggest barometer, but that game was at home. They got a few breaks in that game because it was at home because of the atmosphere. Alabama was shook early on. Things like that. I mean, that's what road environments do.
One more thing, just to sort of close the loop on this one. Georgia just beat Florida on a neutral site by 22. Tennessee beat Florida at home by 5.
Yeah. I think, though, Tennessee, in all fairness, they are reminiscent of, this is totally different style of play, totally different anything. But what it's reminiscent of to me is the Maurice Claret Ohio State team, where the momentum just slowly kept going and going and going, and they gained more and more and more confidence. Yeah. Obviously, completely different play styles, completely different coaches, but I'm talking about the self-confidence and the swagger. Tennessee didn't have this self-confidence and this swagger week 1, week 2, week 3. So, that narrow Florida game, a little bit of a different context.
Yeah, I mean, it's you could use every week and you could pick your poison and say, oh, well, they almost lost to Pitt. So, Pitt's terrible now. And it's a tough road environment. They were struggling. Hendon Hooker was banged up. I mean, they're a different team. They could very easily win this game. I guess we're jumping into
okay,
that,
guys. We have
to. I do want to circle back to one thing I mentioned. I did mention NC State a moment ago and talk about Devin Leary's injury and kind of discounting them. That Virginia Tech game was so fun to watch. I believe third string based on the roster quarterback MJ Morris.
Yep.
They put him out there trying to gain a spark. Well-regarded dual threat kid. Oh my God, his arm talent was so impressive. His footwork was so bad. Freshman running quarterback, didn't know what to do with his feet. I swear every throw was off of his back foot, and he was slinging some like 50 yards down the field off of his back foot. And I'm like, oh my God, get this kid into the Manning camp, and holy crap. I want to buy stock in him. I think he could. I think he could potentially be like an ACC Player of the Year type thing in his career before it's all said and done. He is incredible.
So what you're saying is you saw the opposite of Virginia Miami.
Yes,
in which the game ended 14-12 in 4 overtimes, and there were 0 touchdowns scored.
Yeah, Kirk Ferentz was quoted after the game saying, "Slow down. We don't want that much offense."
Well, I mean, listen, dude, I don't know what you're talking about because your Iowa Hawkeyes scored 33 points.
They almost covered the spread themselves.
We were yelling at the TV screen because the announcers kept saying, "Oh, this is a new look Iowa offense. This is the new spark. This is something." And we were all yelling, "It's Northwestern."
The Northwestern team is so bad. They're so bad this year. That Northwestern team is atrocious. That is not a surprise loss. What I want to talk about, though, is Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Because Oklahoma State didn't just lose. They laid an all-time egg. And we now all have that egg on our face because we all took Oklahoma State in spread formations last week. And boy, do we look... Even without Adrian Martinez... didn't matter. Will Howard, coach, looked freaking awesome. It's a completely different offense with him in there, yet it's still effective. This is, I mean, Chris Kleiman, just hats off to you. I mean, they did something.
Yeah, I'm not sure when I was watching that game, I was trying to figure out what was going on. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is a new look. This is a completely different team here. They're playing their what's off, and Oklahoma State had no answers. They were getting physically dominated. Kansas State just looked in total control from the word go. And I'm impressed, man. Chris Kleiman's doing a hell of a job. I thought I was guilty of thinking no Adrian Martinez. Well, this is going to be a tough one for them to win. Nope,
not at all. Because and the other thing that really got
me refilling my soda.
the other thing, hey, great choice, by the way.
The other thing though that I noticed here, or actually that made me think about with Will Howard, and they've gotten back a little bit more to get the ball in Deuce Vaughn's hands. And not necessarily let Adrian cook as much, which he was great against Oklahoma, don't get me wrong. But in the heart of Big 12 play, honestly, Deuce Vaughn is their best weapon. You saw him get 22 carries and like at least 6 targets in the past game. Like he was back to being Deuce on the loose.
Well, Chris Kleiman deserves a lot of credit. But I think one of the things we haven't talked enough about yet that he deserves credit for is his new offensive coordinator. Quick pop quiz. You guys know his offensive coordinator?
No, I don't actually. Oh, wait. Yes, I do. Former
KSU quarterback.
Colin Klein.
It is Colin Klein. Yeah. Colin Klein is calling some plays.
He's calling some plays
successfully.
Hey, call some ball plays, man. I was impressed.
For instance, one of the important touchdowns against Oklahoma was a play that he ran a few years back against Oklahoma that also resulted in a touchdown. So, Kleiman, when you hire a brand new offensive coordinator, it's Colin Klein's first season as OC at Kansas State. You're wondering, is he bringing it back for like the nostalgia? Kind of how's this all going to work out? It has been a home run hire. And the brain trust at Kansas State is just so fun to watch now. And Matt, you said the egg was on our face, but
it is for this week.
Yeah,
it's for this week
because we gave them no credit. I gave them no credit. I'll be honest, but I mean,
Coach, I'm just going to finish my thought here really quick, Josh.
Yeah.
We may have egg on our face for this week, but not for this year, baby, because we picked them to win the title before the season, Coach.
Purple power. The only loss that a purple team has had was to a fellow purple team
in the Big 12.
There you go. In the Big 12.
Well, yeah.
Northwestern, different story there in the for the color purple.
Northwestern is so forgettable this year. I literally almost asked, does the Big 10 have a purple team?
So, I mean, they could trade them for the Chicago Maroons right now, and it might not be that big of a difference. Okay, quickly though, any other things you want to hit on from this past weekend that really stood out to you guys that we did not get into? We had a couple upsets. Missouri took down South Carolina. We had Notre Dame taking on Syracuse. That was super predictable. Wake Forest just letting Louisville just move the ball at will. UCF taking down Cincinnati, Gus Bus, getting the engine back running. Any of those stick out to you, Josh?
No, what stuck out to me was the Purple Pirates knocking off another future Big 12 team out in Provo. And with Brian Harrison
that game was fun. That game was so much fun.
With Brian Harrison getting fired, I was thinking, if they repeat their same coaching search that they did for Harrison, they're going to take a coach from out west with no ties to the South, who his current fan base hates him, which means Auburn, get ready. Your 2023 head coach will be Kalani Shiitake from BYU.
I'm sure that is a perfect cultural fit.
Yeah. Polynesians in Alabama. That's
Mormon Polynesians in eastern Alabama.
Polynesians on the plains. Here we go.
They ain't gonna be. He's gonna get down there. He ain't gonna understand a soul. He's gonna go to Waffle House and he ain't gonna know what to do. He's gonna be shook, man. He's gonna look at that menu. He's gonna be like, scattered. What is scattered, covered in? Hell.
I don't feel like he swears, and I feel like that's a swear for him. Yeah, I mean, for me, I want to tip my hat to Notre Dame. They came to play against Syracuse defense. Syracuse offense, though, first play of the game, Garrett Schrader gets hurt, and it's sort of writing us on the wall for them because he's so much of that offense. A different game with Schrader for me. And I'm chalking that up to I'm not that surprised that it happened. So, any other things from week 7 here?
I mean, Syracuse's goal this year was to get to a bowl and win 6-7 games. So the fact that they had an amazing start to the season has just added feather in their cap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's not like it's not like they have a tough schedule, like a murderer's row. I mean, at Pitt, who's falling apart next week, home for Florida State, Jekyll and Hyde, at Wake Forest, another team that's falling apart, and at Boston College, who already fell apart, and it's just a carcass that's getting pulled to the line for the end of the year.
Did you say Wake Forest has fallen apart?
Yeah, they just got dismantled this past weekend by Louisville.
Wake Forest does that every year. Wake Forest, when it goes off the rails for them, it turns into a nightmare just based on their offense they play. And they just had some terrible interceptions in the third quarter. They had an awful quarter of football. I wouldn't say it's done for Wake Forest.
All right then. Well, let's then move into looking ahead to our spread formations here for week 8. Gents, last week, not a banner week for, well, not just your boy here, but all three of us, because we all went 2-5 last week. It was rough. It was very rough. We're all on the wrong side of Oklahoma State, Kansas State. We all had Ohio State covering at Penn State. They did not. They came 3 short. We all had Cincinnati covering. We already talked about that. We all had the under in the Northwestern Iowa game for the total. Iowa almost got that themselves, and Coach had Northwestern. Coach just flat out had Northwestern. And we, Josh and Coach were on the, Josh and Coach were on the party. Oh, I miscounted. Josh and Coach were minus 22.5 on the party, and they won by 22. So but I had the over, so I actually went for that. So that actually makes me, I miscounted this anyways. We'll get it all back for next week. Josh, Coach still over,
lost by a half point.
Josh and Coach are still over 500. I'm way under 500. It's not going great for me this year. Let's get into the games this week. We had the cocktail party last week. This week we're going to start with Georgia again. Tennessee at Georgia. My turn to go first this week on the spread formations. Georgia's an 8.5 point favorite at home. The over under is 66. Get with no Nolan Smith for the Dogs. I'm going to leave most of the analysis to Coach and Israel, but with no Nolan Smith, points. Give me the over. Dogs. I got Dogs winning by a touchdown, but give me the over to be safe. Josh,
who goes next? Me. Okay, Matt. I am exactly with you. I know based on your performance for the season, I should be fading you, but I really don't see a scenario in which Georgia's defense, as good as it is, completely shuts down Tennessee. So I think if Tennessee wins, it's going to be a shootout like the Alabama game. If Georgia wins, I still think Tennessee safely puts up 28 plus points. So I think the over is by far the smart bet here.
All right, Coach, break it down for us.
Georgia's 8.5 point favorites. I was not expecting that. The way everybody's talking about Tennessee, I expected Georgia to be underdogs at home.
That's what you say to your students. So it's like, well, if you're so worried about us, why are we 8.5 point favorites?
Yeah, I mean, we're over a touchdown favorite. Like, what's going on here? Here's the thing that Tennessee has to do. They have to walk into a hostile environment, which you look at their biggest wins, all of them at home. Alabama, home. Florida, home. The only big win that stands out to me was a banged up LSU team that hadn't found itself on the road, which was impressive. They went down there and beat the hell out of them. That's all they can do, right? I say that to say that I think Brock Bowers is going to have a huge day. Jalen Hyatt's going to have a huge day. There's going to be a lot of points flung around on this board. I'm not touching this spread whatsoever. I'm going to take the over. If I was betting man, I'm going to take the over at 66. But since I do have a dog in this fight, pun intended, I'm just going to take Georgia because why not? So give me Georgia 8.5 and the over. But if I'm betting real money, I'm just going to take the over.
Yeah, taking the over. All right. Well, you just mentioned LSU, Coach. They are a new team recently. They have gotten
They figured out that Jaden Daniels is not a pocket passer.
No. And all of a sudden they have gotten it linked up on offense and defense. They are playing really good ball, and they're hosting Alabama, who, obviously last week was not nearly the test that Tennessee was for them, but I'm still not entirely convinced that, this is not vintage Alabama, I don't think. And I'm tempted to take the over in this one, but I'm actually going to take LSU plus 13.5. I think Alabama wins by 10, Josh.
We are family. Matt,
does that mean our
got
picks
all
are
my
related?
sisters with me.
Matt, I'm with you. This LSU team has figured some stuff out. They're cooking. It's a night game in Death Valley. Yeah, they're going to be drinking all day, plus the day before, so it's about 48 hours.
Plus the week before. It's Alabama week. It's the whole week before.
Let's be honest. They're drinking right now.
Yeah, let's say. Someone's got a hurricane or a hand grenade going down right now.
It's going to be a ruckus crowd. Let's see. What's Alabama done on the road this year? Well, they won by 1 at Texas. They had a third quarter nightmare at Arkansas in a game that they really tried to give away. They lost to Tennessee on the road. So not an inspiring road performance to be found thus far in the season. So I think LSU is the smart pick. I also like the over. I think this turns a little bit into I think it turns into a game similar to the Tennessee game where it's a shootout. I don't know if LSU has enough horses like Tennessee to pull off the upset, but I do think they could keep it close.
Good.
Yeah, before I get into this pick, believe in Georgia dogs to get the Georgia-Tennessee, get the whole scoop. So Israel and I do it, we do it.
It's a one-stop shop for all things Georgia dogs football.
Mm-hmm. All things Georgia athletics. It just has to be football season. We talk basketball. We talk baseball too.
Coach, I'm going to come in sometime this year and do a deep Georgia gymnastics breakdown for you guys on why the program is terrible now.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, really. One story gymnastics program is now in the dumpster. All right, so back to the game at hand. Alabama travels to Death Valley. This is
eerily similar, Josh. Eerily similar. Dominant team from the 80s, 2000s, and the dominant team from the 80s and 2000s has come on hard times because of mismanagement at the top. That sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Go on.
Okay, this is a scary game for Alabama because they're, the aforementioned struggles on the road. They put up 27 yards rushing against Mississippi State at home. Bill O'Brien is not exactly inspiring a whole lot of confidence in this team. Bryce Young, they're not helping him out. The receivers, JoJo Earl, I guess is okay. I don't know. Alabama just doesn't. They look discombobulated. They're distracted with this Jermaine Burton stuff. Meanwhile, LSU is starting to polish some things off. They're getting some things together. They're figuring out what Jaden Daniels can actually do. And they're figuring out that, hey, Keyshawn Butte is a pretty good receiver.
Yeah, might want to throw the ball his way.
We can play a little defense, so we can blitz a little bit. Oh, okay, yeah. So this really good Ole Miss attack isn't so daunting. Okay, pressure on them, force some turnovers, and let's go. You give them momentum at Death Valley, they could very easily walk away with a win because of that environment. Now, I still think Alabama wins, but I say all that to say, give me LSU in the points. That's a big spread for where these two programs are at right now.
Yeah, especially with
give me LSU.
Yeah, just I think Alabama's offense is really starting to face some issues. Like you talked about on the ground there. There was, I think, one fan on one of my Badger message boards who said that Wisconsin should not Jimmy and have Bill O'Brien be the next head coach. I don't think that person is. I think that person is afraid to post ever again.
Yeah,
I don't blame him. I mean that is one of the most asinine things I've ever heard. If that happens, I may. If Wisconsin fired Jim Leonard and brought in Bill O'Brien, I may give up my Wisconsin fandom and just pledge my complete allegiance to Georgia. So,
Bill O'Brien is the first person to have his career hurt by the Nick Saban car wash, because first few weeks of the season we actually were like, oh yeah, Bill O'Brien would be a good fit for this job. Oh, he was good at Penn State. He's got
Nebraska job. Why not? Right?
It's like this is. Ooh.
He did such a good job managing the Texans. Let's just give him the Auburn job.
That DeAndre Hopkins trade was so smart. So smart to trade away one of the 5 wide receivers that matters in the league. So, okay, we are digressing far, far, far away. Texas, led by another former Alabama assistant, Sark. They are 2.5-point favorites on the road at those Kansas State Wildcats that we just talked about, over under 54.5. Kansas State plus the points. You kidding me? Easy, Josh. Give me the Wildcats at home plus 2.5.
Well, pulling a Lee Corso not so fast, my friend. This is a weird matchup. I don't know what it is about Texas and how they square off against Kansas State, but the Longhorns have won 5 in a row. They've won 7 of the last 9. They just seem to have K-State's number. I think objectively speaking, K-State's a lot better team this year than Texas, so I'm inclined to take Kansas State, but Texas just kind of scares me a little bit with how well they've done in this game. However, most of these games have been fairly high scoring, including 2020s that put up 100 total points. So I'm going to take the over.
I got fooled once by I got fooled once by Kansas State. Not gonna happen again. Give me the Wildcats here plus 2.5. I think this got to be easy money, right?
I will say I'll be rooting for them, obviously, because I always root against Texas.
All right,
taxes, and Josh crapping on Texas football.
All right, quasi ACC matchup: Clemson 3.5-point favorite on the road at Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans think they're back because they beat down Syracuse team. Over under is 44.5 in here. I will be quick again. 44.5. No, way under. Way under. Like I'm feeling like a 13-9 kind of finish in this one. So give me under 44.5, Josh.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting game because when you look at Notre Dame's scores, it's all over the map. Stanford score 14 points and lose. The following week, destroy UNLV and put up 44 points. So I don't have a read on this game, so I'm going to do the safe thing. I think Clemson wins safely by a touchdown plus. So I'm just going to take Clemson.
I feel like that's probably the safe bet. If I was forced to pick a team, I'm definitely taking Clemson. I just see a lot of defense in this game because I'm still not sold that Clemson has any idea, even coming off of a bye. I'm not sold that Clemson has any idea of what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. But clearly, Tony Elliott, their offensive coordinator from last year, doesn't either. If you've watched like literally one series of Virginia football, it was probably a 3-and-out coach.
Yeah,
you blinked and you missed it. I'm taking Clemson here minus 3.5. If I had to take a 2-leg parlay, I would. I don't know. It's tempting to take the over because I think Clemson's I have a feeling they're going to score a lot of points.
They're going with Big Cinco. It's still Big Cinco. If you told me Nick was starting, I would be actually more inclined.
I know, but this is going to be one of those games where everybody's doubting Big Cinco, and he's going to have one of those games that fools everybody again, like he did early in the season, and then you're going to get into another big game. He's going to. This is Big Cinco right here.
Yeah, it's big wave.
you all laughed 5-6 weeks ago when Matt posed that question with me of which is the big Cinco that we're going to see. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
It made a terrible podcasting, but it was the right answer.
Well,
you really don't know, but give me Clemson because regardless, I think they win handily.
I don't know if it's terrible podcast or not to pick Colorado/Rutgers games every week, but we keep doing it, and we're here on episode 302. So, I mean, what are you going to do about it? We're still here. Colorado this week is a 31.5 point dog at home to Oregon, over under 61. I like a nice daily double for Oregon minus 31.5 and the over, because Oregon's going to hit that themselves. Have you guys seen this offense? Like the
I saw him week 1 getting dismantled by the dogs.
Well, I got to see them up close and personal on my TV screen, watching them destroy UCLA, a UCLA defense that is well above average. They're running roughshod through the entire Pac-12. Colorado doesn't have a defense at full strength. We know they're not that. I mean, I think that Oregon could score 63 themselves by the end of the third quarter in this one. Give me the Ducks. Give me the over, Josh.
Ooh, yeah. The my one hesitation is what happens if Oregon is up 35-0 at halftime? Do they cool anything down and win kind of like 42-0 and we don't get that over? That's my one reservation, but it's not enough for me to do the exact same bet you did, Matt. Give me Oregon and the over.
Kenny Dillingham, OC at Oregon. Props to you.
Dan Lanning, one of the best hires, first-year coaches.
He gets it, man. He gets it. He's got a lot of energy, a lot of passion. He just had to figure some things out early on, and he figured them out quick. Kirby gave him a nice lesson week 1. But my God, are they rolling right now? And I love it. I love every minute of it. Go Ducks in this one. I'm taking the Ducks. I'm not touching the over/under. Screw that, because I think if they get up 42-0, they're going to coast in and hit the brakes, and they're going to, if this over/under was in the 50s, maybe. But I don't think Colorado's scoring a whole lot of points.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just mentioned my best first year head coach. I'm gonna throw out 3 just to end this here tonight. That is it. Lanning.
Yeah.
Is
Lanning.
it Sonny Dykes, or is it Mike Elko?
Does Sonny Dykes count though? Because is it first year in the program or just first year? Like this is like I'm thinking.
Okay,
like
so you're talking about guys
first
who are
year,
true first. So with him and it's Elko.
True rookies.
True rookies. Lanning, Elko. Yeah.
True rookies.
I mean, those 2 guys for sure have been
Tony Elliott.
Oh God.
Brent Venables.
Yes.
Brent Venables. True rookies.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Jake Dickert is like quasi. He was interim last year and was never a head coach before that.
That counts.
Doesn't count because you got games. No, I love what Elko's done, and that cupboard was bare. And Duke is at 5 wins. They have a great chance to get to a bowl. But when we saw Oregon with Cristobal, they didn't look like a playoff contender. They were kind of an afterthought for us in the Pac-12. We were talking UCLA. We were talking USC. We were talking Utah. Oregon was not on our radar. I'm going with Dan Lanning. Before you guys answer, though, I had 2 other coaches that we should probably give some props to. New Mexico State is playing way better with Jerry Kill.
Mr. Jerry Kill. Jerry Kill always does it. Jerry Kill's just all he does is win games.
Yeah. And then Jim Mora, 4-5 right now with UConn. Who had them winning 4 games? And they knocked off BC, their first Power 5 team they've beaten in a long time. I would probably guess 2016, 2017, maybe.
Good for them. I mean, good for more. Like that makes me happy.
Yeah. Their schedule has a few more wins on it too. I mean, it's not inconceivable for them to go like 6-6 and maybe sneak.
If we have Duke and UConn bowling this year, my God.
Hopefully UConn and Central Florida can meet in a bowl game and we get another installment of the civil conflict.
With a trophy that was left in the trash.
Yeah. Coach, who's your debut coach of the year?
I already said it, Dan Lanning, so far, especially if he wins the Pac-12.
Right.
Yeah, you got Lanning. I'm going to take Elko just because of how bad that cupboard was, and that they are like, not only are they competent, but they're doing innovative things on both sides of the ball. I knew the defense would be better. I didn't expect their offense to actually have like this amount of creativity. So I'm very, very happy to see that.
So I have an interesting thing projecting forward to next week. We have a few dominoes that we need to fall the right way, but in next week's slate, we have a couple of interesting top 25 matchups. We got North Carolina at Wake, so game day, Winston-Salem could be interesting. We have TCU, Texas. They've been to Austin a million times. Maybe they go there. They have the where is it? The Alabama Ole Miss game. The Grove, awesome, but they've also done it a few times. If the Gus Bus can take care of business against Memphis, and Tulane can take care of business against Tulsa, could they have this thing in the Garden District of Nolens, put that sucker right outside Archie Manning's house in New Orleans, Tulane hosting game day? Could we get that to happen?
Ooh.
Josh, I really like where your head is at for this. My fear is that it's the only one that I can think of is if Florida State beats Miami this week, Syracuse wins. They take it to Syracuse. I don't know if they've ever had it at Syracuse before. Syracuse would be 7-2. Going against a 6-3 Florida State team. I don't know. I would like it at Tulane, but that's just my argument in my head. Or them just being like, oh well, SEC. So let's go to, Alabama, Ole Miss. Let's face it, that's probably where it's going to be. So, or LSU.
It's too bad
Arkansas,
Purdue. It's too bad Purdue's not a little bit better. It could be in Champaign, Urbana.
That's the game that decides the Big Ten West, gents.
Yeah, but no, the Garden District would be those fried oysters. Ooh.
Some po' boys.
Sign me up for some fried oyster or fried crawfish po' boy.
Oyster po' boy. Only way to go. Only way to do it. Only way to do it is with the oysters. So,
I'm going to Voodoo Gumbo, guys. I'll see you.
All right, guys. Well, with that, it's time for us to wrap it up here today on the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. So, on behalf of our own offensive coordinator, the coach, Corey Burton, here in Nashville, Tennessee, and our intrepid blogger for Big Ten Accounting, Josh Cook, up there in Chicago, Illinois, this is Matt Perkins in the Music City saying so long, and see you next time on the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast.
Dookies! Go Dogs.